ecstatic.
Among the first to arrive back home in Montreal, Bruce Burnett describes himself as a guinea pig for the new rules.
When the flight attendants announced process, they're talking about 3 days in the hotel and quarantine, I said, you guys are aware that it's changed today? And they were not aware of the fact. On the plane. They had to call into the ground crew to find out what was going on.
As a fully vaccinated Canadian, he won't need to quarantine, nor will he need a day 8 test, rules that have been frustrating for many.
I told my wife, who was in town with other stuff, that if they don't open up the borders, I'm not coming back. I was ready to stay in Israel as long as necessary.
It's not a fully open border. Only Canadians and others already exempt are allowed in. Everyone still needs to present a negative PCR test result upon arrival and take another when they get here. You also need a new version of ArriveCan to upload proof of vaccination and your test result.
Wow, it was super complicated because also it changed so many times. First it was the end of the day. Then like 1 week ago they changed to the beginning of the day. And we already have the flight.
Many still have questions.
I think the biggest challenge that we have is really getting the message out in regards to what has changed.
While the Public Health Agency of Canada put out a new statement stressing it is still not the time to travel.
I know how eager people are to get things back to normal, but things aren't normal yet.
Calling Monday's rule change a big step at an announcement in Northern Ontario, the Prime Minister was pressed on the next steps for a fulsome reopening and why vaccinated Americans are still not welcome.
We're going to stay safe, but we're very hopeful that we're going to be able to see new steps on reopening announced in the coming weeks.
Coming weeks. Trudeau said the same thing 2 weeks ago. All eyes are now on July 21st for the next chance of reopening. Monday, the Prime Minister said the next phase, whenever announced, would allow other fully vaccinated people to enter Canada. Abigail Bimman, Global News, Ottawa.
It's the moment many Canadians have been waiting for, reuniting with loved ones after a long separation. Canada's easing of COVID-19 travel restrictions allows fully vaccinated Canadians and permanent residents to enter the country without having to quarantine. The rules have been a burden for cross-border couples, keeping apart throughout much of this pandemic. As Mike Drolet explains, the roadblocks are still, though, in place for some.
In the shadow of the giant Peace Arch monument straddling the U.S.-Canada border sits a grassy haven from the unforgiving confines of COVID rules. There's no wall or border station here. It's witnessed weddings and now has pop-up tents for people to reunite and share more private moments. But that's just here. The rules everywhere else have been complicated, which is why Melinda Schneider is happy her mom is a lawyer.
I have someone who reads that all day, every day. So for her, she's like, oh, it means this. Whereas like I'm looking at it and it's like, throw me back to calculus and give me PTSD.
The teacher's college student had to figure it out so she could see her boyfriend Adrian, who lives and works in Denmark. They managed to visit each other last year, once in Denmark, another time in Canada. But the financial and emotional burdens of COVID started to become too much.
I got laid off, and then it's like, oh, now my boyfriend can't come, and oh, I have no freedom, and oh, I can't leave my house, and then it's like, oh, I can't have my friends over, I can't see my family.
But now, with new rules meant to ease travel restrictions for fully vaccinated Canadians, she sees a pathway towards normalcy.
I feel a little more free, because it's like, like I've done my part. You know what I mean?
But that freedom isn't assured for couples across the board, since benefits aren't yet extended to fully vaccinated foreign nationals. So when Dr. David Poon's partner arrives from Ireland this week, the mandatory 15-day stay still applies.
So a Canadian essentially has full mobility. A foreign national family member of a Canadian does not.
He'd like to see that change soon, but nothing COVID-related seems to move quickly. Mike Drolet, Global News, Toronto.